they decided to do 150 of it. So we're putting 150 in a corporate account. Who's ever opened a corporate account? It's actually in paper form. A PSS business account, SB 50 BUS. Remember on this one, when you do this, but you need a certificate of articles of incorporation, and then whoever the controlling person is, the CEO, he's an authorized individual. He also is a control person, and he's a beneficial owner. Okay, this is the company's annual gross income, the company's value of portfolio, and the company's net worth. That little blue box, business, federal ID, tax bracket, I missed those 2 boxes there. Application goes through a lot of stuff. It has to go through an anti-money laundering department. It's got to go through, it takes longer to open one of these than just about any other account. You need the company's tax ID number. What kind of corporation is it? Is it a subchapter S? Is it a C Corp? LLC? What is it? Jewelry, gems, precious metal dealer? No. Import, export? No. Pawnbroker? No. Check cashing business. Evidently, these are the 4 that they're most weary of. ORNAX. I like to do tax-free bond funds because then these companies have the money in them growing tax-free. Right. Most of my clients that have these, they don't do PAC. So they'll get lumps. They'll say, hey, I got $75,000 more my company I don't need right now, so we'll put it in there as lumps. To get more investments, and nearly no one asks that question. Evidently, no one seems to go after that money. I don't think most advisors think about it. I don't know. So if I have any kind of business that, especially anybody that builds something, right, like a pool business, like fountains, like something like that, you need capital to build a fountain, for example. Right. And so but you don't need as much. Sometimes they have way more in their account than they need. That's how I scan everything now. I don't scan anything use my computer anymore. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so handy. Super fast. The quality is way better.
You pull these things up if you want to share something like this.
Summer work opportunities for teachers.
Yeah, I've been putting those out every time they pop up. Link this with my Twitter, my Instagram, my Facebook, LinkedIn. So I want to share it. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are a 2-step process. So you just set it up and send this stuff out.
You doing the floating rate still, Sam? Floating rate. He does pays a 9.02 yield now.
I went in and got my landing page approved. We'll send you a link to a landing page.
VAFX, because it's got technology in it. We might start to see the market go back up. So, but don't put everything in it. It doesn't seem like S&P is doing that well. Right. It's mainly going to be technology.
Right. You ain't started pulling back some gold yet. Building back.
I haven't, but I tell you, the dollar in the last week got stronger, and the dollar didn't do as well. Gold didn't do as well. But we're still up with how much percent during the year? We were up 18. We're probably not at that now. I'm betting that energy is going to IENEX. I'm keeping some money in it.
That's a -7.61 for the year.
Yeah. Oil's less than right at $70 a barrel. And they cut production. OPEC cut production. Russians cut production. Everybody's cut production. And I believe everybody's flying and stuff. I think demand's going to go up. So I'm keeping some money in oil. It's down to $71.67. Gold is less than 2,000 an ounce. VAFAX is up what percent? 18%.
18%.
I wonder where ITYAX is. It's up 18.55. Let's see what technology is. ITYAX. It's up 19.69. So technology is doing well. Invesco European Growth, European Equity, AEDAX is up.
Asia fund. What is it? It's a plus for the year.
Well, the Asia fund's up 2% for the year. ORNAX is up 3.33. I just had a policy that got rated table 10.
10? Good grief.
On the new policy.
Really?
Yeah. 5 more? Well, let me tell you, you should. I had it as preferred. He's five,
He looks fine.
yeah, 5'8", 140 pounds. He's light, he's not,
Yeah.
but his hemoglobin came back really high.
Oh,
And so I didn't know what that meant.
yeah.
And, Miranda's taking Bob, his medical. She says it has to do with the liver or the blood, or your blood, oxygenation of the blood.
Something way off.
All of which are likely to be fatal.
Yeah.
So they still issued them.
If it can't be.
And the premium was like, it was more than twice what it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I had the wife go ahead and give me, there. I said, I've been trying to get them to get a life insurance policy, for 6 months. They do taekwondo.
Okay.
And, because he makes well over $100,000 a year. She's a real estate agent that sells real estate once in a while. And they got 3 kids. And he had no life insurance. He had $50,000 covered to work. And I thought, if something ever happened to him,
Yeah.
they would be hurt. He's going to go to the doctor today
Yeah.
and see
Yeah.
what it is that's causing it. I said, but it could be that, you'll take some medication and it'll get back to normal and we can redo it. Get it well over the rate, right? But, I've had clients find out there were something wrong with them when they got life insurance. I had a client a number of years ago that was in a car accident and hit their chest on the steering wheel when they were in the car accident. Didn't realize that it damaged their heart. And they got a life policy right after that happened. And they picked up on it. And they said, you need to go see the doctor. And it saved their life because they got a life insurance policy. It's 10 years level, 6 months.
And then conduct every 6 months.
Yeah, 10. I've been suggesting my clients get an arm loan because rates are the highest they've ever been. We're only going to go down from here. So it's a good idea to get an arm. 10-6 arm seems to be the most competitive. Okay, let's do a hypo. We're going to do one where the numbers are a little stretched. 20 years of VADAX, investing $550,000, $4,000 a month withdrawal. So that's nearly 10%. Don't do any entries.
Gotcha.
See what happens after 20 years. Okay, so start with 550, we take 960 out over 20 years. And we still have over $1 million left,
I bet.
even with us taking that high percentage off the, is that right?
What's this?
Hold on, let's go back down.
Yes, sir.
Go back to that one.
Okay.
I know somebody's thinking of buying a house and they're gonna put money, get money from a house they're selling. And then they're gonna have to spend like $100,000, so it's gonna take away from what they had to invest. But it still turns out that it's all right for them to do it. You never want to put money in a house. It's amazing how many people think that a house, they think that's the safest choice.
It's a superstition.
Is that weird?
It's a religious fervor.
And you can help them see it is like really hard.
No.
Do not build a house on a slab.
Oh, no.
Never build a house on a slab. You guarantee to get termites.
Yeah.
In Georgia, Texas, they build slabs all the time, but not a problem. Georgia, you will get termites. So you have to treat the ground under that concrete to avoid it. But even then, you're at risk.
Before you lay the concrete.
Is they'll treat the ground underneath the house sometimes, but they won't treat the ground underneath where they put the garage.
Okay.
And so that's for the termites to come in.
Yeah.
Between where the garage and the house is. Termites have to go in the ground every night. They come in, they come up every day, but at night they go back in the ground.
That was swarm once a year, is that right?
Yeah.
You got
Take for a second. Think about it. It gets hot around here. Didn't have air conditioning. Get a little airflow on there. It helps keep the house cool. Just makes sense.
But pier and beam is the way to go.
Here indeed.
Plastic sheet underneath the whole bottom of my house.
Okay.
So it's moisture barrier. So VAFX is doing well. It looks like this is going to make it.
And we were talking about the statistic. You sign on 100 new agents in a year, and 85 of them go quit. You're 15 are going to hang around, 13 do something, 2 are going to go all the way. And we told him that, and he looked like he'd been slapped in the face, because it was like March or April or something. And what's wrong? We hired 100 guys at the Hoshizaki plant first year. There's a 90-day training period. And at the end of that 90-day training period, as soon as they were finished training, 85 of them quit. Right there on the spot. And then that's everybody's statistics. 100 people joined Valley's Fitness in the 1st of January. By the 31st of January, 85 of them gone. Yep. That's just 85% of them just don't quit. Cheryl had one of her downlines. He's got a video out on Primerica about paying identify. One of those beautiful inspirational things. So this guy came out and talked about it. He showed a picture of a funnel. And you get so many people up here into the funnel, but only a few are going to come through. You cannot control who's going to come out the other end. You can only control.
So you're talking about they start at the top and come out as RVPs?
Yeah.
I like Bobby Buison's story way better than that. He called it baby poo poo.
Yeah, that's right. He grew a little cornucopia.
Yeah. that was my favorite. Baby poo poo. Cornucopia. All these people come in, and out there, baby poo poo.
And on, you get.
So that's he was classic of that.
Oh,
all these people come through here, and at the end, baby poo poo. That's the RVP.
You never know who's going to make it. Came in, you signed on the guy who was an honest good Harvard MBA.
Harvard MBA here in Griffin.
And what, he made 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Well, I've seen the same thing in Taekwondo.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
In Taekwondo,
mm-hmm.
if I have a person that has a natural talent,
mm-hmm.
and has more talent than the average person, mm-hmm. they're the one most likely to quit.
I know. I learned that.
Why is that?
I'll tell you.
I've had some girls come in my school that picked up on it. They're really good. And I said, wow,
mm-hmm.
they're going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
And they make it back pretty done.
That's right.
Then I have other people, they're struggling the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They learn the basics,
mm-hmm.
and they go all the way through.
Yeah.
Why is it?
I know why. I saw this when I was in this music park in Georgia. All the talented people quit. Those of us without talent, but who were just determined to get through, we got through. And the reason is the talented people have always made their own talent. It's always been easy for them. But the day comes when they have to work, have to add work to their talent. And I have never forgotten that self-righteous, whiny voice I heard as they were going out the door. They have taken all the joy out of music. No, they haven't. You just had to start working to get better.
Elton John.
Elton.
Okay, what's one of Elton John's favorite songs?
No, they don't say that.
Yeah, that's
yeah. Okay,
that's
Benny and the Jets.
I love that song.
How many times has Elton John sang Benny and the Jets?
Every time he sit down at the piano.
How many years has it been? I remember Elton John. I remember when I was in 1970.
Mm-hmm.
My cousin Sandra listening to Elton John. Okay, and in 1970 I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my cousin, she's like 6 or 8 years older than me, listened to him. So he's been around forever, singing these same songs for 50 years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And every time he sings it the same exact way, right? Do you think he's bored of singing Benny and the Jets?
You know, something so much you just like reading it. So
okay. That's why you don't get bored at doing sidekicks and stuff. Because if you do it before, when you actually will need it, it will be reflexive.
Mm-hmm.
You won't have to even think about it. For me to do a sidekick or roundhouse kick or whatever, I don't have to think about it anymore. I can do it immediately. Okay, so that's why you do it a million times, so that you get really good at it, and you can do it reflexively. And one of the things I teach my students, I tell them, you might need this when you're tired, sick, might be wet, might be cold, might be all of those. You might already be injured, right? You might already have some hurt. and you still have to use it anyway. So that's where mental toughness comes in.
Mhm.
And so most people aren't willing to do that. That's why I don't hand out black belts to everybody. Is you have to be willing to go through what you have to go through to get enough for your black belt.
Bob Sanford used to talk about these street kids in Philadelphia out in the dark with basketball or hoop, and they're doing jump shot over and over and over. And he said they got a motto. They said over and over again, someday NBA, someday NBA.
I'll give you an example. Phil Mickelson,
Mm-hmm.
golf.
Mm-hmm.
He will get on the side of a green and pitch the green until his hands bleed. Anybody that does anything, that's any good at anything, will do it forever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get, and it will do it. So it's like me. How many accounts do you think I've opened in my career? Thousands. I probably open at least 6 or 8 accounts a week, at least. And I talk to people, but what I realize is it's not about me. It's about my clients. They've never heard this before.
That's right.
How many times have I answered, should I pay cash for my house? How many times have I heard that? A million times. Okay. So, but I've realized that it's not. This is not for me. I know it, but they don't know, and I can explain it well enough so they get it.
How about the security stuff?
Securities forms, which is kind of blurry, but yeah, that's what.
Yep.
And then brokers' accounts,
IRA forms.
retirement forms are there.
Well,
on the very last,
form.
on the very bottom.
Oh, I see it, all the way at the bottom,
All the way to the bottom.
retirement plan forms, all right.
Your dad was married 6 times.
And
My aunt was married like 4 or 5 times. You all have ICA ICA guys. So let's talk about huge funds and how they work and that kind of. So we're gonna first turn your handle to turn to where you can see these spaces right here. The fund family I do use is Invesco, whose global headquarters is in downtown Atlanta. And the reason I like to use them, first of all, I've been doing business with them since 1987. But number 2, they pay their portfolio managers bonus money in the fund they manage. So they're forced to eat their own cooking. Page 6. This is a list of all the companies that, if you decide you're going to put $10,000 in this fund, this is a list of all the different companies you'd own. Okay, so there are 2 reasons. Okay, I'm going to teach you both how to be compliant, how to understand mutual funds. But I'm also teaching you how to understand how to present investments at the same time, okay? Now, why did I just have you go through all those names and not stop you? A lot of agents worry about what they're going to say, their presentation, how this stuff. It's not really that. The way everybody's got it written on their forehead, what's in it for me, the more names they say they recognize. That's why I'm going to let them keep going, okay? Especially the husband and wife. I'm going to let them both say his name. Because the biggest fear most people have with investing, especially in the stock market when you grow poor, like I did, investing in the stock market is no one in our family did that ever. And so no one in our family invested because we were all poor, and that was risky, right? You money in the stock market, you're gonna lose your money. Okay, so to dispel that, what's good about mutual funds is if you're not buying one company, you're buying hundreds of companies all at the same time. In Ecclesiastes 11:2, King Solomon said, divided portions in 7, no 8, for you do not know what disaster might hit the land. And you don't put all your eggs in one basket. So when you put money in a mutual fund, you own all these different companies at the same time. Okay. So how likely is it that all these companies on this list would go out of business at the same time? Very low chance, right? So that's what's great about mutual funds. You're not buying one company like Kmart, right, or Delta, or whatever. You're buying hundreds of companies. Okay, and even if you put $10,000 in here, right, and we woke up tomorrow and McDonald's is completely out of business, how much money would you lost if we go in tomorrow and McDonald's is gone?
$55.
$55 out of $10,000 investment. Is that small, big, or little? Okay, so you wouldn't worry about that. Plus, the fund manager that managed the fund, he would have seen there was a problem with McDonald's way before it went out of business, and he would have sold it and bought something else, right? So let's see how this fund is done. So now I'll open it to your centerfold. This fund started in 1934, right? These items right here are all the reasons you were told not to invest in the stock market the last 80 some odd years. But if you would have put $10,000 in this fund in 1934 and just left it there, what would you have today? The upper right corner, how much money would you have today? Today, it'd be worth over $200 million, right? And in the bottom right-hand corner, in that little gray box, what's your average return in that fund from 1934?
1.4%?
Yes.
Every year?
That's what an average.
Yeah, that's average.
That's what average, right? And see, that's the thing. This is where people make. See, now look at the bottom. You'll see red boxes and blue boxes on the very bottom.
Total return boxes?
Yeah. Okay. So there are reds and blues. The reds are all the years this fund went down in value.
Well, for the most part, it was blue.
So more reds or blues?
More blue.
Okay. So, for example, what year are you born?
I was born in 87, right here.
87. Year after I moved to Georgia. Okay. 80. That's the year I got my stock broker license.
Oh, okay.
So in 87, $7,049.20. You see that number, 7,049.2. If you want to put that much money in here in 1987, by 1997, what was it worth?
Oh, wow.
What is the number? So you'd have how much more money? 4 times, nearly 5 times more money. Stockbroker market dropped 19% in one day.
Right after, during the Depression and also 2008, the market went down 34.7%. But the following year, it was back up 27% of that.
Yep.
And then the following year, another 10%. So
Yep.
they recouped plus before 2 years were out.
Well, what happens is, here's what I'm starting to do. That sounds good until you're actually doing it. Okay, here's what I mean by that. People have such short time horizons in their brainies that they can't see 6 months to a year or 2 years, right? So, for example, let's go back to what Winnie said. In 2008, let's look at 2007. You had $70,456 in your account, right? The very next year, your account was worth how much?
45.
So how much money did you lose?
45.
Nothing. But how much money did your account go down by? $25,000, right?
Anyone who cashed theirs in that, you did lose. Okay,
Right.
so those are the.
But
Yeah, so, yeah, anyone who.
see, if you take your money out, that's when you guarantee your loss. Right? Yeah. Well, you don't pay taxes. You don't pay taxes. Your money's not invested anymore. So, and no one's smart enough to know when the market's going to go back up. Okay. And so what happens is it went from 70,000. They look at their statement. They look at their 12/31/2007 statement. It says $70,000. A year later, they get their 12/31/2008 statement. It says 45,000. So they're going to call you and say, "Here, you put $70,000 in my account a year ago. Now it's worth $45,000. I've lost $25,000." Right? That's what they're going to say to you. Okay. And as an advisor, my job is to say, well, number one, I remind them, like I did at the very beginning. I said, how many, that list of companies that we just talked about,
Right.
how many of those are still around? And are they all focused? What are they all focused on?
They all want to make money too.
Right. Are they smarter than politicians?
Yes.
Way smarter. CEOs know how to run businesses and they know how to get around the system to make money, right? Smart ones do. The dumb ones don't stay in business very long, right? So that's what I ask my clients. I said, remember, we talked about this. I tell them when the market, when they have an account that went from 70 to 45 or whatever, I'll say, is Coca-Cola still in business? McDonald's still in business? Home Depot's still doing pretty good? What about Delta Airlines? They doing all right? Okay, I go through a list with them, And they said, yeah. So do you think they're gonna make money again? Yeah. Okay, do you think that, this is one of the things that happens, okay? So it's actually smarter right now to put more money in your account, okay? Because now you're buying it at a cheaper price, right? So, and here's something else too. The reason that I've been successful in the investment arena is a lot of advisors, when the market's down like this, won't answer the phone.
So they don't wanna explain to their customer what's going on, or it gives them anxiety, to deal with
Yeah.
depression.
But the reality is I'll call them in advance, or when they call me, I answer, and I talk to them, and I'll tell them why it's actually good news,
Right.
okay? And you start talking to them how the market's not gonna stay down forever, the economy's not gonna be bad forever, right? I mean, just think like the Depression, like this very first part, in the 30s. The Depression really lasted from 1929 to 1930. It went out again in 1937. So it was like an 8-year period where the Depression was really going on, right? And so even with that, you made money in the market.
This one in 2008, at the 45,
Yes.
number,
Uh-huh.
that fell from 70, but if you go 6 years down the road, they're at 109. And by the way, these are millions, are they not?
Yeah.
The way this is done. So imagine you have a client that's got $70 million and then they see that now they've got 45 million, they would be freaking. But 6 years later, because they stayed the course and stay there, they're at 109 million.
Well, let's go back to that. Let me push back on that a little bit. The guy that does have 100 million, has 70 million,
Yeah.
he goes to 45. It doesn't bother him as much as the person that had 70,000 that goes to
Right.
45,000. Our clients are the ones that have 70,000 or 45,000. It bothers them more than the guy that had 70 million.
The famous question asked Sam Walton, how does it feel to lose $400 million? I don't know, ain't there?
Still live in the same house.
It's right.
that lived in.
Yeah, he drove a 1973 Chevy pickup. He picked people up at it from the airport in a 73 pickup. When he was a billionaire, multi-billionaire. Okay, so the point is negative news sells. Okay, when you talk to your clients, you have to be the calming figure in the storm. I always equate it to, let's say, who's ever flown on a Delta flight or on an airplane? Okay. Now, if you're on when the skies like today, where it's pretty and it's sunny, no wind, it's easy to fly airplanes, right? Easier, right? Now, but we pay our pilots hundreds of thousands of years to fly that plane, right? When it's pretty and sunny out, right? But we don't pay them for that, do we? What we pay them for is the days when things are going wrong, right? When stuff stops working, or when there's a really bad sudden thunderstorm, or wind shear, or hailstorm, or lightning storm, whatever. Okay, that's when we pay him. That's why we pay him a couple $100,000 a year, right? Yep. That's why we get paid a couple $100,000 a year. Okay, like I was saying, in the '80s, I'm not kidding. From when I got started in the late '80s to 2000, that period of time was easy. I was making my clients 15 to 18% every year without even trying. But when 2000 hit, things changed. Okay, from 2010 is known as the lost decade. Okay, it's the worst 10-year period in U.S. history. Okay, now if you look at that, you still make money. Okay, you didn't make it much, but you still made money. Okay, but the point is your job. Your job is like the Delta pilot. Okay, everyone thinks you're overpaid, everyone thinks you're doing great. Okay, but where you earn your income, and that's what I tell my clients. And this is when things are ugly, like 2003, 2002, 2003, 2008, 2018, whatever. Whenever you have a bad year, that's when we earn our income. Because our job is to keep our clients sane when things get insane. What if your pilot panicked when things went wrong? You're going to have a fit, right? Well, that's what our job. What if your advisor panics when you call him about your finances? So our job is to not panic. Our job is to realize what's going on. When I start seeing things going sideways, the first thing I do, I watch it all the time anyway. So I normally can see it coming before it hits. But every so often we have something unexpected happen, right? So as soon as I see something happen, I then look at what's going on and what's the likely scenario with where we're going to end up being financially. So that I can, then when I talk to my clients, I know what to tell them. Okay, here's where we are. This is what I think is going to happen. And I think this is where, and this is what it's going to be. This is where we need to be, do better, or this is when it's going to get clear enough and we'll start making enough money again. I get up every morning. First thing I do is I walk to my building and I will watch CNBC. I'll watch all the financial stuff. And I do my workout. I get back and I get in my car and drive up here. I'm watching CNBC, Bloomberg, and Fox Business. I switch in between them. And then when I get commercial, I'll listen to Christian music. So I do that. And then when I get in the office, I read about reports, different people saying this thing about the economy, markets. So when I talk to my clients, I can tell them this is what's going on, and this is why I think you need to be here, or this is what I think when things are going to get better. But remember, none of this is exact. Stan Druckenmiller, my favorite guy. You know who Stan is? Stan Druckenmiller is a multi-billionaire. He's really, really smart. But what I like about him, and there's another guy named Jeremy Siegel. He's at the Wharton School of Business. He's a professor there. But Stan Druckenmiller made $1 billion in a day. In one day.
When you write his name.
$1 billion in one day. He did what's called, he did a thing called arbitrage. So Druckenmiller, well, I like him. Well, number one, he's very honest. Well, here's another thing. When you're super wealthy, and you're not political, you can say what you want.
Right.
Right. Yeah, you can tell the truth. Right. And that's what I like about him. And he just had he spent time, he was speaking at the Pershing. Pershing had a big thing going on in Orlando this week. Okay. Investors conference. Okay. And he was speaking at it this week. And I was listening to him about it. And one of the things I like about him, he said, number one, I don't always get it right. He'll tell you, I don't get it right. Matter of fact, he gives some examples of where he really didn't get it right. Okay, how much money he really lost. I think okay. But he says, but this is what I see this happen. Okay, for example, one of the things he did mention, I heard this week, I'm going on page, is he said, for them to save Social Security, there's one of two things that's happened. They either have to raise taxes by 40% for the next 40 years, or they need to cut expenses that are really cut by 36% for the next 36 years. And I don't see either one of those two things happening.
Right.
Okay. If you look at pure numbers, these are the two things that have to happen, and no one's willing to do that. The point is, listen to people that are smarter than you are about money, that have way more money than you. Yeah. Okay. I always use it called the pile theory. If somebody's pile of money is bigger than my pile, I listen to them. Okay. If broke family members are giving you financial advice, run. Don't listen to broke family members. Okay. I saw there were guys that are dumber than me making way more money than me. Like Scott Pinker. He was my selling ticket. Okay. Because I go to a fast start school, here's old Scott with his cut off shorts and his sneakers, okay, and whatever, baggy, whatever, and he's up there and he's making $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. I'm thinking, if that guy can make $300,000 or $500,000 a year, I know I can do. I know I'm as smart as he is. Okay?
Well, truth is, he's smarter than he acts.
I know, yeah, I know. He is. He's smart. He's smarter than you.
There are no rocket scientists.
So when I saw that, I said, I think I can do well here. The key though is I need to find who knows what to say. There's two people that everyone was following all around the convention. One was Shane Rudman, one was Hector Lamar. Okay? Everywhere those two people walked, there was a crowd of people around. Okay? And then I went in a room where Shane Rudman was speaking. And he was talking about this and that. And he was a very good speaker, and he talked about his presentation, all this other stuff. So I managed to get a cassette tape of Shane Rudman's presentation. And I listened to it and listened to it and listened to it until I had it word for word. I knew exactly what he said, when he said it, how he said it. I listened to it, I wore it slap out. And then what I would do is I would try to set appointments and try to do that. Okay. And here's how it works. Whenever you learn how to do a presentation that someone else has done, when you first say it, when it comes out of your lips, it sounds foreign to you. It's not you. Okay? It doesn't sound like you. Okay? The first time you do it. But if you do it all the time, eventually it becomes you. And when I was setting appointments, I was trying to see at least 8 to 10 people a week. I would do 2 a day. I do 2 Monday, two at least 2 appointments a day. That's what I was trying to do. I started seeing success with it. I started getting some clients, started getting some things going. The key to Tom Hopkins is you got to learn how to ask questions. My kids were always allowed to ask questions as long as they're polite about how they did it. Learning how to ask questions is the key to success in this business. Let me go even further. Learning how to ask questions and hearing people out is the key to success in life. How happy is your wife if you listen to everything she tells you and hear her out? And I'm telling you, if you learn this will change your life. And then one of the things I always do that makes the client know that I'm listening to them, I ask them, do you mind if I take some notes? They love that. Okay. So then when they start telling me what they want, I start writing it down. Wherever they rank the highest is the one I'm going to focus on first. So you ask a question, you hear them ask. You write down details about what they said. So I'm going to make the husband, that's why I always sit here on the end, and I have them sit next to each other. Or I'll sit where she is, I have one sit here, so I can see them both at the same time. When I walk in the door, in the house, when I go to somebody's house, I look at their house, and I can tell you who they are, like that. If you walk in the house, and one of the main walls of the house has every family member they've ever had. Pictures of every family member. Okay. They're all about family. Okay. So if you focus everything you talk about how this is better for your whole family to succeed, then they'll hear you out. Okay. And they're belongers. Okay. They're all about belonging to the family. And that's what they are. Okay. I went on a appointment several years ago. Picture on the wall, not a face in any of the pictures. Okay. The pictures of landscapes, mountains, forests. Okay. Well, no, they're analyzers. They tend not to be as comfortable. They don't like people as much, and things like that. They're analyzers. They're more intellectual. They're probably got a college degree, that kind of stuff. Okay. Let's say you see a mantle and it's got trophies all over this mantle. Okay. I am going to walk from the door all the way to where all of the mail, and I'm going to look at all the rewards. I'm going to see whose names are on there. Okay. And let's say it's football or whatever. I say, wow, who plays sports? Okay. And they're going to tell what they want to talk about. They want to talk about that. That's why I like this business. It's fun to me because anytime I tell someone, they say, or my kids say something, and I say, yeah, I do that. They'll say, don't tell us when your clients told you. My clients learn from me about money. I learn a lot from other people about them, what they know about, right? So I know a lot about stuff they're good at. So you talk to them, you ask them questions, you build rapport with them, you sit down, you make sure you're sitting in the right place. You sit down and you ask questions, and the first question you ask is, what is the most important thing to you and your family financially? What are you trying to accomplish financially? And then you say, do you mind if I take some notes? No, go ahead. And I'll write down what they want to accomplish financially. And I hear them out, right? They tell me all about it. And then when you hear that they say it all, then you feed it back. So what you do is you restate it, what you heard, to make sure you're clear on what they said. Now, at this point, how do they feel about you?
Pretty confident.
Within 10 minutes, this is 10 minutes of the appointment.
Comfortable.
Okay, you've already looked at their trophies. Okay, you took command, you took leadership of their house, you took Charles TV, then you did this. Who is in charge?
Me.
In their heads, they like you, they trust you, you're asking questions they want to be asked. So now they're willing to be told what they need to do, right? Because you're giving them what they wanted. That's what drives me nuts. How is it possible not to do business with somebody when you give them what they wanted? I have a client, and I ask the top 3 things. They say, I want to send my kids to college, I want to get out of debt, and I want to retire. Sending your kids to college should be the lowest priority. So how do I combat that? Okay, so what I'll do is everything I say or do, I have a story. Abraham Lincoln, there's a book he wrote, somebody else wrote about him, called Lincoln on Leadership, and how Lincoln was successful in dealing with his lame-brained generals that did not want to fight. They did not want to do what they're supposed to do. He was forcing them to do what they needed to do. Okay, he learned how to ask. He learned how to ask questions, and he learned how to tell stories. Okay, and most people are visual learners as well as auditory learners. So they'll do something if you teach them. Okay, so I'd say, let me show you why you may not want to make college your highest priority. So what you do is I draw a picture of the house. Okay, and when you build a house, what's the most important part of the house?
Foundation.
The foundation. Okay. So the first thing we need to focus on for you is your foundation. The foundation part of your house is being debt-free, having a will, having life insurance, and having an emergency fund. Why? Because if something goes wrong, that's what you need. Those are the 3 things you're going to need, right? If transmission goes out in your car, you're going to need an emergency fund, right? If somebody passes away, you're going to need life insurance and a will, right? So these things we need to get handled first. You can't build the roof until you handle the foundation, right? So we're going to do that first. Once we got a good handle on getting you debt-free, getting the right coverage you need, making sure you have a will, and making sure you're on track to have enough money in emergency fund, then our walls are going to be retirement. We got to make sure that you're going to have enough money to live off the rest of your life. Okay. And the last thing we're going to put on the house, and actually it's not, but we're going to say this, is college. Because, and here's how I phrase it, do you want your kids to pay your way through retirement? Now, okay, so they said college is the highest thing, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna point to the kids. They're sitting and playing Nintendo, or doing all this stuff in the house. Or I'm gonna say, do you want to depend on those kids to pay your way through retirement? What's the answer?
No.
Okay, so now they realize that college is not the highest priority because they now understand retirement is a higher priority than college. Now in China, we adopted 2 kids from China, and that's what happens in those. Okay, I went to a village, and we went here, and there's this old shack, and we actually went in the house. I got pictures. Okay. Inside the house. We went in this house. There was a shack, and there's half a pig laying on the kitchen table. Okay, it was just rudimentary at best inside the house. Okay. They had all dry stuff hanging off the fence line here that they were going to eat or something. Okay, so there's that. And then there's this house over here. It was a 2-story masonry house, well constructed. And we were with a guy, and I said, why is there a house like that? Why is there a house like that? He said, these people never had any children, so they can't retire.
Oh my goodness.
These had a son who's successful, and he in the Chinese tradition is the kids take care of their parents in their later years. So it's stark difference between the 2. And my focus is to teach, not to sell. The biggest area that most people fail is they don't have any money in emergency. because they think they have a 401k at work, right? And if they get in a bind, where they get their money? Credit card, which is borrow from their credit cards, or they take money out of their 401k. Two things you don't want to do. And the only reason you do them is because you don't have emergency fund. Emergency fund, you want to make sure they're on track to have at least 3 to 6 months of their income. So I'll ask them, how much money do you need every month to live off of? And first of all, they never get it right. No. No. I can't say, oh, $2,500 a month. Well, that is not true. Okay. I'll say, how much money do you spend on, and when they say $2,500, what they're counting is their house payment.
Yeah.
Okay, and I need to know groceries, house, everything.
Utilities.
Car payments, gas, everything, lunches.
Yeah.
Right, if you get good information, you get good out, right? So, and I tell them, the more accurate you give me this information, the better job I'm going to do for you. So we do the emergency fund, we focus on that. We focus on getting them out of debt and life insurance if that's what they need. If client is 50 years old, 55 years old, the kids have grown out of the house, and they have a couple $100,000 sitting in a 401k, they don't need life insurance. The first question, how do you know if somebody needs life insurance or not? First question I ask no. If you were to pass away, who depends on your income? If the answer is no one, they don't need life insurance.
Yep.
There are things that are going on right now that don't make sense. Okay, and I can't put my hand. So normally when certain things happen, certain other things happen, and that tells you that's where we're going. What's happening right now is things are happening and they don't make sense. For example, we have the unemployment rate is not going down, the unemployment rate is not going up. Okay, so we have good employment, but we have a slowing economy.
Stagflation.
Okay, so that's weird. So we are probably heading towards down stagflation. Now I heard something yesterday that I knew was going on. I kind of knew what was going on, but I didn't realize to what degree. Did you realize China had over 1 billion people in their population? They're under 900 million. Oh, wow. Getting in the 800. And in 20 years, I saw another statistic. There's going to be half as many people living in Italy than there is today. There's a number of countries throughout the world. Japan's like that too. Japan, Italy, Portugal, other countries like that, where the birth rate is low and people are not, and so everyone worries about how there's going to be overpopulation in the world. Not even close. Yeah. There's going to be half as many people in this. They sold babies, like we adopted two from China. The Chinese government was making money. They're getting $20,000 a pop. Not counting you being in their country for 2 weeks, living in a 4-star hotel, right, and eating. So they made money off that, right? They had huge amounts of debt, huge debt, and they got shrinking tax base. What does that spell? It's a disaster. Okay, it spells a disaster. Okay, so I don't believe that China will be what they claim they want to be. They don't have power. They're in a bad spot. We're in a bad spot, but they're probably in a worse spot than we are. We're the cleanest shirt in the laundry. So I believe that we got a slower economy. Sam Druckenmiller did say he believes we are going to have a pretty substantial recession, but he didn't give a caveat, but I have been wrong before. Everyone seems to think we're still heading toward a recession, pretty heavy, and we're going to have a fairly decent one. I was thinking we were going to have a recession somewhere between March and first and second half of this year. It hadn't happened yet. Now we have slowed down. Consumer spending is still good. The consumer has money. Corporate spending is down. They're not spending money. They're not doing R&D. But the other thing that's going to happen, I do know is going to happen, is there's going to be a collapse in commercial real estate. No, because no one's going back to work. Everybody's working from home. Think of all this office space where only half as many people go back. Office space almost next to the office where you had McDonald's, you had all the growth, you had things that supported people working outside their house, right? Those are gone. Okay, so commercial real estate is going to take a major hit, and real estate and interest rates are higher, so they're needing higher rates to buy commercial property. So that's going to be the big thing. That's going to be the huge thing that happens. Now, residential real estate, what's happening though, is the smart people that are in commercial real estate, they're converting the commercial real estate into residential. That's what those smart people are doing, billionaires do. They have the money to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, they can take something that used to be an office and turn it into apartments. So consumer is strong, the corporations are cutting back, so that is making our economy slow down. Once the unemployment rate clicks up, and once Americans have run through their savings, which is what they're doing, then you'll start seeing it harder on the consumer. And that's when you'll start, because consumer prices are high. I bought something the other day. I went to Tractor Supply and bought a 4-foot by 80-foot section of netting that you put over something. I promise you, to make that cost them $6 to make it. $40. Me and Stacy went to Truett's the other day, had lunch. Just me and Stacy. And we didn't have anything. We didn't have dessert. We didn't have milkshakes. We didn't have nothing. We had a meal and a drink. And it was, after I paid the tip, close to $40. Inflation, I think, is going to catch up with the consumer. Yeah. And then we're going to go into what's called, then we are heading towards stagflation. Technology is way overpriced. I thought technology would be the place to go, but it hasn't taken ease. And they're going to continue to raise interest rates after this pause in June. The industry that has the hardest time with raising rates is the real estate market and the tech market. So both those, I thought tech was going to do better the second half of this year. May not. So I still have most of my clients, that $950,000 I got yesterday, all went to floating rate. The other thing I was thinking about, I thought oil prices were going to go up a bunch.
Right, not yet.
But if China's going to continue to have more issues than I thought, their demand for fuel is going to go down, and as long as we have a recession, they're going to go down. So oil prices will not go as high as I thought they were. Saudi Arabia cut $1 million a barrel this week, more of production, so to drive up price. I'm reducing my exposure to energy, and I'd say keep about 5% energy, 5% gold, because if we do go into recession, gold will continue to do well.
Yeah.
But the rest is sitting in 5% energy, 10% gold, and remaining floating rates. And not sexy, but it sure is.
It's holding its own.
It's holding its own, yeah. Okay, did y'all learn anything new? Go home.